Hey everyone, I'm Rob and welcome to the test drive. In today's video, I'm back in Southern California in the Malibu Canyons with the 2020 Jeep Gladiator. And if you're wondering where I've been the last couple of weeks, I'm not dead. I've actually been on vacation traveling with my wife in Singapore and Thailand, and we finished off our trip with a stopover in LA for a couple of days. So this is why I'm getting to bring you this video, but that's why there haven't been any uploads. We filmed a bunch of amazing travel vlogs and they're all gonna be on our other channel called A Wander Affair. That's a channel that my wife primarily runs, but all the travel content that we do together is on that channel. So that's gonna be happening probably within the next couple of weeks, so definitely make sure you check those out. So it's been almost 30 years since Jeep had a pickup truck in its lineup, and with the newest generation of the Wrangler being so good, they couldn't just stop there. They had to come out with the Gladiator, obviously, and I really love this thing. I've been driving it around for the last couple of days and it's truly amazing. I've driven the new Wrangler a couple of times and I've been very impressed with it. It is so far above and beyond what the old generation Wranglers were. It's a vehicle that is not only very superior off-road, but it's also comfortable to drive on-road. It also handles better, it rides nicer, it's more refined. So they've taken all of that and put it in a pickup truck, and it is absolutely perfect. Now, if you look at the Gladiator just head on, you may not even be able to tell that it is the Gladiator because from the front, it looks just like a Wrangler. The new generation of this platform of Wrangler and Gladiator doesn't look very much different from the previous generation Wranglers. It has pretty much the same setup for the front end. You do get new headlights, and actually this one doesn't have them, but you get these halos as an option that go around the headlight, which I really like. You get new bumpers, new exterior lighting, but other than that, the look is pretty much what the Wrangler has been for a very long time. Now, if we go around to the side, obviously this is no longer a Wrangler because the back is completely open, and actually this does look quite a bit longer than the Wrangler, and you kind of notice that when you're driving it around. It doesn't park quite as easily. You don't fit into spots quite as well. It still obviously fits way better than a full-size pickup, but it is longer, and it needs to be because otherwise the truck bed would be kind of useless. And obviously they didn't want to compromise on the interior space, nor would they probably want to have to redesign the cab because the cab is literally a Wrangler. It's a Wrangler to this point, and then from here it's a pickup truck. Now, the Gladiator that I'm driving is the Sport S trim level. It's the second level trim level, one step above the base. So you get these standard 17-inch wheels. There are actually 4 different trim levels in the Gladiator. You have the Sport being the base model, Sport S being the second level, then you have the Overland, and at the top of the line you have the Rubicon. I just love the stance from the side. It's aggressive, it's tall, it looks like it would very easily take on an off-road challenge, and I absolutely love that. I love how rugged they made it. They didn't stray from what the Wrangler has always been. Now, if we go around to the back, it's again very typical Jeep, large Jeep logo. You have an aggressive rear bumper. You have this tow hook here that I really like. And then there's a couple other really cool things with this too. So it doesn't have exactly a soft open tailgate, but it's pretty close. It does open softly, it doesn't just drop, but it's not like what some other full-size pickup trucks have, for instance, where it goes down very slowly. But still, I would say this is pretty good. It also feels really solid. You also have this rougher surface on the top of the bumper, which makes it easier to step up into it. So obviously you can step up really easily like that. Or, you don't even need that. You can just step off of it. I mean, the height is really good because you can very easily load stuff in here. And again, having a bigger bed than if this was just a Wrangler with the roof cut off the back gives you more versatility. And that's the amazing thing with the Gladiator. It's combined a mid-size pickup truck with a Jeep Wrangler, and it lets you do Jeep stuff and truck stuff. Another thing I really like about the Gladiator is that when you unlock the truck, you have these little lights inside of the bed, and actually they're very bright. You can't really see in the daylight, but it illuminates the entire bed, which is awesome. The standard top in the Gladiator is this soft top that's on this one. I would definitely recommend getting a hard top because you'll notice once we get in and drive it, you do get quite a bit of wind noise. Now, the soft top is obviously very easy to take down, but there is a really nice 2 or 3 piece hard top that also comes down pretty easily, and I like that a lot better than the soft top. But the soft top is the cheapest option. It is the standard option. Another thing I love about the Gladiator, and I believe this is the same thing on the Wrangler, is these exposed hinges. Very cool. Also on the headlights on the front, I noticed inside in the very middle, there's actually a little Jeep front end. Really cool. But anyways, I'm 6 feet tall, just so you know for reference. Getting into this, it's pretty interesting because it's kind of a smaller door, obviously, a smaller entry. It's a little bit more difficult to get into a Wrangler or a Gladiator than a normal pickup truck. But it's not bad. It's actually still pretty easy for me to get in. And once you're in here, you actually have a pretty decent amount of room. Like I mentioned when I reviewed the new Wrangler, this latest generation interior is amazing. It is so much nicer than what the previous generation Wrangler had. You have more soft touch surfaces. It looks way more refined. You have new controls, new shift lever. You have a new 4-wheel drive lever. You have a brand new steering wheel, which is so much nicer. The other steering wheel I actually really hated. Everything in here just looks much more modern, but it still keeps that Wrangler look. It doesn't look fancy. It looks rugged, and that's how it's supposed to be. The only seat options that are available in the Sport and Sport S trim levels are these cloth seats. You can get them in 2 different colors. This is like the dark charcoal black color, and there's also a lighter brown color you can get them in as well. I would definitely prefer getting the darker cloth if I was going to get cloth in one of these for myself. Now, because this one has the soft top, you actually have a little bit more headroom. The Wrangler that I tested had that 3-piece hard top, and I really liked that, but you do have a little bit more headroom in here. Not that you need this amount of headroom, but it is pretty cool. It just kind of is a little bit more open, I guess. And then when you get in the back, I'm again really impressed because, like I said, I'm 6 feet tall. I'm sitting behind my own seating position, and I have a lot of room. I have a couple inches of knee room here. I have a pretty good amount of foot room, and I have a decent amount of headroom as well. I mean, the back seat is actually quite impressive with the amount of space. You know, even in the middle, I mean, it's not horrible. I could definitely sit back here for a while and not be uncomfortable. And now for my favorite part of every review, we're gonna take this truck for a drive. So there are 2 different engine options for the Gladiator. The only engine option that was initially available at launch was the 3.6 liter V6, and that's in the one that I'm driving today. Now this engine puts out 285 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. And that's pretty decent for this truck. This is obviously a mid-size truck, not a full-size. And it's plenty of power. This truck does not feel slow at all. It also sounds pretty decent as well. Now, the thing that I'm actually kind of pleased to see is that the turbocharged 4-cylinder that is available in the Wrangler is actually not available in the Gladiator, and that's completely okay with me. However, the engine that I am most excited about, and that I would definitely get in a Gladiator if I was buying one, and I am thinking about at some point buying a Gladiator, that engine is the 3-liter Eco Diesel V6, because that thing puts out 260 horsepower, so less than this, but 442 pound-feet of torque, which is freaking awesome. And that torque, I know, is available at a very, very low RPM. So that's classic diesel, and that is so freaking cool, so awesome for off-roading. And I just love diesels, especially in a truck like this. I think it would be absolutely perfect. Now, we're driving in Southern California on Latigo Canyon Road, which is one of my favorite roads in the Malibu Canyon. And it's actually handling pretty decently around these very tight turns. Now, you do have to slow down quite a bit, obviously, which you would in any vehicle here, but it doesn't handle poorly. It handles way better than the previous generation Wrangler would have, and it handles probably better than other pickup, I mean, definitely handles better than a full-size pickup truck, I'll say that, or most full-size pickup trucks anyway. There are 2 different transmission options available with the 3.6 liter V6. The standard transmission is actually a 6-speed manual, and then for $2,000 you can get the 8-speed automatic that is in this one. I'm kind of torn because, well, if I was getting the 3.6 liter V6, I would definitely get the manual because I think it's a lot of fun, and it's really cool to have a manual 4-wheel drive mid-size pickup truck because I'm not sure that there is another one on the market, at least in North America. I know you can get the Colorado in two-wheel drive in the base model with a manual, but I don't think that you can get the four-wheel drive one with a manual. So I think that's really cool. Now, when the Eco Diesel is officially available, I don't believe that it will be available with the manual. I think it's only gonna be the 8-speed ZF automatic. And this automatic is actually very nice. It is so much nicer than the previous, I believe it was a 6-speed, or maybe it was even a 5-speed automatic that was in the previous gen Wrangler. And you can also shift the gears yourself. You do have this slap shift functionality here. It's pretty good. It's not amazing, but you wouldn't expect it to be insanely responsive anyways. I'm also really impressed with how fun this is to drive, even on a road like this where, you know, this is not the ideal road for a Gladiator. It's an ideal road for a sports car or a supercar, but it's a lot of fun to drive just in general. It has pretty good pickup. It rides nicely. It's comfortable. Now, the thing I will say with the soft top is that you do get quite a bit of wind noise at higher speeds, and that's something that you don't get with the hard top. So it doesn't really get too bad until you get up above like 60 miles an hour maybe. And even then, I mean, it doesn't bother me very much, but it might bother someone else. The other thing I will say with the Gladiator is that this turns more heads than probably any vehicle I've ever driven. I've driven a bunch of sports cars. I've owned a few sports cars. This turns way more heads than anything I've had on the channel. I mean, it is really awesome. Everyone looks at it, asks about it. It's really cool because they think it's a Wrangler, but they're like, why is it a truck? I mean, if you're not in the car world, you may not realize that the Gladiator even exists. And you may see it and think, oh, that's weird, that's a Wrangler pickup truck, and they may not even know the word Gladiator. My wife actually, who's not necessarily a car person, even though she loves cars, kept calling this the Renegade because, I don't know, I guess it sounds kind of like Wrangler, and maybe Renegade would have been a good name for the Gladiator, but I kept, you know, obviously telling her that this is the Gladiator, and the Renegade is, you know, that smaller, I call it like a lifted Kia Soul, even though it's, you know, obviously cooler than a Kia Soul in my opinion. But yeah, this is no Renegade. And I like the term Gladiator actually because if this is big, I mean, it's bigger than a Wrangler and it has such a big presence. You know, the presence of the Gladiator is even bigger than the vehicle itself, in my opinion. So I really like that. Now, while the Gladiator has a much better, softer, more refined ride than the previous generation Wrangler, it's not perfect. You still have some play in the steering. I mean, when I do this, the vehicle doesn't move. And it still wanders a little bit, although not a lot, at higher speeds, I would say. And again, it's not gonna drive like a BMW X5 because this is so much more capable off-road than an X5. It's obviously nowhere near as expensive, it's not as refined, but it's not supposed to be. This is a legendary, highly capable off-road vehicle at its core, and it's always gonna be that. So, you know, making it super luxurious like a Grand Cherokee, let's say, you know, isn't really what this is supposed to be. Now, when you get to the technology, there's actually surprisingly a lot to talk about with the 2020 Gladiator. So you get standard push button start, which is really nice. You don't get keyless entry, although that is a package. And interestingly enough, the key is this swivel up key. The standard infotainment system at this trim level is the Uconnect 5-inch display. This is obviously my least favorite display. Now, it does give you all the basic functionality that you could want. I mean, it has obviously AM, FM radio, it has Bluetooth for phone and for audio. It has a backup camera built in, although it is really small, obviously, because the screen is so small, so it's kind of difficult to use. It's good enough, I guess. It's nice that you have it. It's obviously federally mandated at this point to have a backup camera, but it's not great. So there are two options to upgrade from this screen. You have the Uconnect 7-inch display, which gives you Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and then there's also the 8.4-inch display. So the 7-inch display is about $1,000. The 8.4-inch display is about $1,700. However, for that $700 extra, you also get the Uconnect navigation system built in, which is really nice. You don't need it because you have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it's still pretty good. You also get HD radio, and then probably the biggest reason why I would just go ahead and get the 8.4-inch system is because you also get the Alpine audio system. Driving this around for a couple of days, the sound system in here is pretty good, but I wouldn't mind getting a better one in addition to all those other features for not a whole lot more money. The other thing that you don't get in this 5-inch screen is satellite radio, unfortunately. There's also a couple other cool things about the technology just from what you get standard. You get a auxiliary port, obviously. You get a USB-C port, which is really nice, very impressive. And then you get 2 USB ports. You get one right up here, and you get another one inside of the center console. Then there are a couple other packages that I would strongly consider getting in the 2020 Gladiator. There's the $700 cold weather group that gives you heated seats, a heated steering wheel, and remote start. I think it's absolutely a bargain because if you were to go and get like an aftermarket remote start system, it's probably gonna cost you a couple $100 anyways. You might as well get it from the factory. And then you get also heated seats and a heated steering wheel. There's also the active safety group, which is just under $1,000, gives you blind spot monitoring and cross path detection. Also gives you LED tail lamps and the Park Sense rear park assist system, which is really nice because when you're backing up in this, you not only have the very tiny backup camera, but there's no beeping or warnings as you're getting close to stuff. So you really have to be able to see well through this screen if you're even going to use it. Honestly, the visibility is so good in the Gladiator that I don't think you really even need to use the backup camera. I didn't really use it much at all because you can see so well out of here. Then another absolute bargain for safety technology. For $795, you have adaptive cruise and forward collision as a package. And then for not even $900, there's a cargo management group with trail rail system. And what that gives you is a 240 amp alternator, a 400 watt inverter, and it gives you a 115 volt outlet in the truck bed. You also get a lockable rear underseat storage bin built in from the factory. I think that is so cool. So I hope you enjoyed this review of the 2020 Jeep Gladiator. Once again, I'm Rob. This is the test drive. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any awesome upcoming videos. I have so many more videos in the works. Now that I'm gonna be back home tonight. There's gonna be so many more reviews and videos on the channel very, very soon. So I took obviously a break for a couple weeks, but I'm back. 2020 is gonna be an amazing year. And I also wanna thank everybody for all your support in 2019 because it was an absolutely incredible year. We far surpassed 10,000 subscribers, which is what I wanted to do. We got a ton of views. We averaged over 200,000 views a month, every single month. And it was just an amazing year. There was a ton of activity, new subscribers, a ton of engagement. So I'm so excited for 2020. There's gonna be so much more awesome content. I will be buying more vehicles in the near future as well. So more on that soon. And there's a lot of awesome stuff happening. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. So thanks again for taking this test drive with me, and I'll talk to you soon.